we've come to know, living in sweet home Chicago, my sweet home Chicago, sweet home Chicago, my sweet home Chicago.
Always on the go?
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to us anywhere. Download the TuneIn app.
Okay.
Type in WindyCityUnderground.com. It's that easy.
Woo!
Where your music, your station.
What's up? You are now live with Talk of the Shy here on Windy City Underground, sponsored by Mama Red Broadcasting, Spreaker, and Spotify. Keep it locked here on Windy City Underground.
Hey, and welcome to Talk of the Shy here on WindyCityUnderground.com, brought to you by Mama Red Broadcasting. I'm your host, Quan the Don. Welcome in today. Yo, we got a popping show, man. It's definitely going to go down. We're getting everything put together right now. I'm just getting off the phone with Jane. We had an amazing conversation. Jedidiah is running a little behind as well. But, you know, the show must go on. So we definitely gonna get everything going. But y'all know I got to get to a quick song right now. So I'm going to play this Aja Marie Drifting, man. Y'all make sure y'all keep it locked with us right here on Talk of the Shy.
Everything is energy.
Indigo. Guess what time it is? You should already know it's Quan's question of
All right, and welcome back in to Talk of the Shy. Here with your boy Quan and Don. Y'all already know. Let them know who in the building with me.
You already know it's your girl, She Bananas, in the building.
All right, and y'all know what it is. Welcome back. Welcome back. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was lovely. It was.
It was great.
It was.
That's
I got
what's
to
up.
rest. I had fun. Enjoyed family.
Okay.
A little bit of all that.
I think I did just the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's been getting cold, y'all. Everybody that know my favorite meal is some chili.
Another thing I did, I'm mad.
What?
I missed out. Now you make me want to punch my
you was talking to
sister
me yesterday,
all
that's
over
what I was
again.
doing. That's why when you was asking me, like, is you listening to me? I was stuffing my mouth with chili.
So, like
I was
peeved
listening,
because
but I was
chili
eating.
is my favorite.
Like, and it was so good. I'm not,
Do you know my sister and them
cooked
cooked chili yesterday
Like,
too? So everybody had chili
Everybody
but
had
me.
chili in the building. Y'all already know.
That's okay. Y'all ain't had chili until y'all had my chili.
I just got off the phone with Jane. It was definitely a very powerful conversation. She had a lot to say. Tune in. She had a lot to say. I'm going to play her interview, but I think
That was the most interesting part about my weekend too.
No, I think I should play her interview now.
So first, tell people about her. I think because that's what was so interesting about my weekend. Because before we were having her on the show, I knew nothing about her. I knew nothing about the experiment. I knew absolutely nothing. So I gained all my knowledge over the weekend, and I must say, she is definitely someone that our people as a whole needs to follow and read up on because her experiments are hands down the best.
Yes, they are.
They're informative and they'll teach you a lot, you know.
Yes, they are. Indeed. And
it was such a pleasure speaking to her, right?
She's a world-renowned teacher for those that don't know. She has the Blue Eye, Brown Eye Challenge. Where she challenges the status quo on a lot of things. And the elephant in the room, she definitely, points the elephant out. Definitely does. And
yeah, she called me out a couple of times on the interview.
She was getting.
Y'all will hear it.
Real gritty, man. But I just want to let y'all hear and hear her speak and hear her talk. So if y'all see us in the background and we just moving and we ain't doing it, this is why, because today is supposed to be for us
to raise awareness.
To raise awareness on a lot of things, to talk about these issues because they are going on. And even though we don't necessarily always say something about it, they are going on, and it's every day. This is our reality in the midst of everything. So with that being said, without further ado, we're going to get to the interview. At first I apologize. I thought Jane was going to be in studio with us, but she was here last Monday. So she called in. So we got that phone interview for y'all, and we're going to get it ready and play that for y'all right now.
I wanted to first ask you about your saying when you made the statement, we live in the land of the free. We live in the land of the free, but when you break it down, you said the white are free and blacks have to learn to be brave. Can you please elaborate, like, how did you come up with that terminology and what does it mean to you?
It was perfectly simple that sees that Star Spangled Banner yet wave, or the land of the free, is talking about white people. And the home of the brave is talking about the land of the free is white men, and home of the brave is white women and people of color. Now, there are some brave white men, there's no doubt about that, but they choose to be brave. Women and people of color have no choice. They have to be brave. You know it, and I know it, and we don't want to talk about it that way, but that's the way it is. This is the land of the free. But you're only free if you have certain characteristics. And if you don't have those characteristics, you better be prepared to be brave. The bravest people I know are black women who give birth to sons and then pray that they grow to be men. And their chances are not good.
Indeed.
Okay. And you also, like, in one of your sermons, you said, you made a statement that says that in 30 years, whites will be a minority. And some people that read that statement kind of like took it as an offense. I believe this came out of the Daily 10. Not the Daily, not the Daily 10. Go ahead.
No matter where it came from, that's the way it is.
Okay.
Because of the fact that the women's movement, which was used to kill the civil rights movement, also made it possible, in fact almost necessary, for white women not to have as many babies. So we don't have as many babies as we did when I was a child. So that the number of white babies being born in this country is lower than it has been for many years. It's going to grow now because of the birth dearth. Now we are afraid, we are suddenly realizing that white women aren't having as many babies as they had been. So now we are going to do away, if we possibly can, with Roe versus Wade. We're going to make white females give birth in order to increase the number of white births in this country. Because we know full well that the major share of immigrants who want to come to this country today are people of color. And that's the reason our number 44.5 is absolutely determined to build a wall on the southern border of this country, because he doesn't want all those brown people coming in here, because he has said brown people reproduce too rapidly. That's what's going on in this country. If you aren't aware of it, you need to wake up. Now, white people would be less frightened about this whole thing if they would stop thinking that there are 3 or 4 different races, and that all these people of different colors are different races. There's only one race on the face of the earth. That's the human race. And it started with black females near the equator in sub-Saharan Africa from 300,000 to 500,000 years ago. Every human being on the face of the earth today is a descendant of those black women. So what white people need to know is that they have always been a minority group, but they've had power that kept women from producing more vigorously, like babies more vigorously. It's time to forget about that now. It's time to realize that if you trace our DNA back, every human being on the face of the earth will have some DNA from a country in Africa. So when we're talking about white people, there are no people who look like a piece of paper. There are no white people on this earth. There are only faded blacks.
True.
And white people's number, the number of people of color is going to increase, and the number of white babies being born has been on the decrease. That's the way it is, and that's nature's way of smoothing out this nonsense.
Indeed.
Evidently, people can't take care of it, but nature will.
So what is your stance on social reform?
What?
What would be your stance on the best way to go about social reform?
The best way to go about social reform is to change your education system. Right now, in this country, and for the last 200 years, we've been providing something called education. It's not education, it's indoctrination. Mm-hmm. And it takes us from the age of 5 to 18 to thoroughly indoctrinate a child to the idea, to the myth, to the belief in the myth of white male superiority. I'm an educator. The word educator, and I've probably said this to you before. I don't know. I don't remember. But the word educator comes from the root "dus," which means lead, the prefix "d," which means out, the suffix "ate," which means the act of, and the suffix "or," which means one who does. An educator is one who is engaged in the act of leading people out of ignorance. You can't lead people out of ignorance when you use the Mercator map to show them, to help them to study geography, and you can't lead people out of ignorance when you talk only about the things, the marvelous things that white males have done in this country for the last 300 years. That does not lead people out of ignorance. That continues indoctrination. We have to stop indoctrinating our students. We have to stop this idea that there is more than one race, because there's only one. We could smooth out a whole lot of problems, and we could spend a lot less money on what we call education if we would stop educating, if we would start educating and stop indoctrinating.
Okay.
Because, you see, we not only teach white people about the wonderful things that white males have done, we teach that to people of color. Mm-hmm. So we all believe in this nonsense. Now, some white males have done some wonderful things. But some white males have done some absolutely horrendous things and are still doing them. And we have a classic example of that in number 44.5.
Yeah, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, President Nixon said in a speech a while when I saw a video of him, and he was saying that if there was to be like an alien invasion or something, or you know, a deity of any other kind, that you wouldn't care what color the person on the side of you was, you would just band together and fight with them. And I always remember him saying that, and when I think about it, I'm like, that's just the truth. And a lot of times I always ask people, if there was no religion, politics, or color, what would separate us as people? And they always say nothing. So it's just like, we have to get to a point where we have these conversations in order to, you know, engage that thought process. It's like we have to unlearn and relearn all over again. And I think the hardest part of that for a lot of people is they're not willing to do the unlearning.
Yeah, that's exactly what the hardest thing is, to teach the lie, and then you grow up and you have to unlearn the lie and learn a whole new truth. But first you have to find somebody who writes the truth or who tells the truth, and that's hard to find. But those truths are out there, and those books are out there, and that information is out there. With any luck at all, somebody will give number 44 and a half some of those books. Now, he would have difficulty dealing with them because you only need so many doorstops. But somebody might be able to give him a tape, and he could hear the things that he needs to know, since he doesn't really have time to read, obviously. He has time to Twitter, but he doesn't have time to read.
Well, even I just have an issue because even in books, what we've learned that a lot of the things, the texts that we take from books are lies that are implanted in our head. For instance, let's say Christopher Columbus discovered America. So for years growing up as children, and according to the United States history, this is what people believe. And it goes the same with your rights to vote. So how can we be sure, like, even if we were to read, how will we... Go ahead.
You have to learn the standard elementary or standard junior high, standard high school curriculum. But once you learn that, then you go home and your parents or somebody, you go to the local library and learn the truth. And the truth is in the local library. You just have to look for it. But you won't find it in most educational institutions. We have to, as a teacher, I know that I was expected to teach the standard elementary curriculum. And that includes the 3 hours of reading, writing, and arithmetic. It didn't take me long after I'd done the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise that first day. During that day, I realized that the 3 R's aren't as important as the E for empathy. Instead of just teaching students the 3 R's, we have to teach them to empathize and to feel empathy for one another. And I don't mean sympathy, I mean empathy. I mean teach children to understand about others by allowing them to walk in their shoes for a while. You can't judge a person until you've been in their situation.
Indeed.
And that's what my students learned with the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise. And after that first year, I guess you know that empathy came before the 3 R's.
Indeed. And can I ask, like, how did you come up with that concept? I know that you had the first one the day after Martin Luther King was assassinated. Was this something that you had already worked on, or was this something that just was inspired because of that event? Like, how did all of that actually come about?
I was born in 1933, the year Adolf Hitler and Franklin Roosevelt came to power. I was old enough. By the time I was 5, 7, 8, I knew what was going on in Europe because my father would listen to the radio and be absolutely furious about what he was hearing. What is happening? And one of the ways they decided who went into the gas chamber, we didn't find this out until after we started to open the concentration camps and release people. We didn't realize that one of the ways they decided who went into the gas chamber, who got shot, or whose kid was thrown up in the air and used for target practice, we didn't realize that one of the ways they decided who they were going to do that to was eye color. If you had a good German name but you had brown eyes, they thought you might be a Jewish person who was trying to pass. And they killed people from birth to death. They killed little children on the street because they had the wrong color eyes. So when the Second World War started, I learned about the ugliness of hating Jews. My father refused to do that. There was one Jewish person in our community, And my father would not allow anybody to say ugly things about Jews because that man was kind to most everybody who crossed his path. My father wouldn't allow you to talk about that man in ugly ways because of your ignorance about his religion. He didn't feel that you had the right to judge somebody else's religion. We watched what Hitler did. We watched what the Nazis did. We watched what the National Socialist Party did. And frighteningly enough, we're now watching that same thing happen in this country today.
Indeed.
Can I just...
Now, it isn't an accident that it was people in the synagogue who were killed yesterday. That's not an accident. It isn't an accident that headstones are turned over and horribly disfigured by people who hate Jews in cities all over the United States today. That isn't an accident. Mm-hmm. And it isn't an accident that number 44.5 is playing into this with every part of his being. He is playing into this and using hatred to get reelected. He is doing exactly what Adolf Hitler did. Yep. Adolf Hitler divided and conquered. Yep. And that's exactly what this man is doing. This is called divide and conquer. And if you think this hasn't happened before,
it has.
You need to take another look. And today, I was watching a news program today, and it said that some 36 or 52% of the students that they talked to in public schools in this group didn't believe the Holocaust ever happened, and the rest of them didn't know anything about it. Now, you can't have one page in the history book about the Holocaust and tell me that you're teaching history, because you aren't.
Yeah, and they're doing the same thing with slavery as well right now.
You're leading an extremely important piece of history, a piece of history that says to those of us who are old, hey, don't let this happen again. You have the ability to keep this from happening, and to stop it where it is happening. I'm about to receive in February the Frederick Douglass Award for something, and Frederick Douglass said, without struggle there is no progress. We have to start struggling against this insanity, or it will prevail.
Yes, it will.
We cannot afford to lose our democracy. We can't afford to lose our democracy. So every member of the human race in the United States of America has to get with all those others. Every person on the earth is a 30th to 50th cousin of every other person. So, cousins, we have to get together as cousins of all colors and decide we're going to put a stop to this. We must not allow this person to divide and conquer the United States of America.
But in respects to the president, though, one thing that I can say is...
I'm not hearing you.
In respects to what's going on with our new president and the fight on racism, more colored people are standing up and unifying in aspects to that. You know, so it is kind of like, you know how you say it's a reenactment of back in the days during the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. So we are more aware. People are taking more stands. We are more alert on our rights when it comes to voting. And
No, we aren't. If we were, he would not be president.
Facts.
No, but that's when that's when we became aware. See, when he got in office, that's when the awareness was broke, because everybody was thinking something else. But then they became to understand that your votes really doesn't matter in a presidential election. Your votes only matter when it comes to your community and your city. So I think that is a key point too. So
you have to realize that members of the House of Representatives, Republican members of the House of Representatives, are now refusing to confront this man and refusing to say, no, enough is enough. This is done. You cannot do this. Members of the Senate, Republican members of the Senate, refuse to step forward and say, that's it, this is enough. The only one who would have, is dead.
And we're gonna stop the interview right there. We just want to ask y'all, how y'all feeling about that right there?
Yeah, please.
She was
chime
definitely speaking a lot of truth. A lot of the things that cousin was saying was on point. I spoke with her Friday prior till the interview, and she was just telling me her goal before she leaves this earth is to get all of the white people as many white people as she can to understand that they came from black, and that
they are no more superior than the next.
Indeed. So
like, I love her.
Yeah, she definitely.
By the end of the phone conversation, we were calling her cousin Jane.
Yeah, she definitely had.
She got me right in order.
Definitely did.
She
had
did.
A lot of insight.
Yeah.
And it was shocking to me to actually have somebody, fighting for me harder than myself, to a certain extent, on certain issues.
To just know that
we
someone
were talking
actually cares
Right.
that much.
Indeed.
To spend their whole life, and just think about all the things and adversity she's had to face during her tenure. Like, she's been spat on, and all kind of obscene things have transpired during her mission to make us just as important as the white man. And like, one of the first questions I asked her was her statement on what she said, we live in the Constitution, we live in the land of the free and the brave. And her analogy of it was the white man is free and the blacks have to learn to be brave. And in the times that we live in, it's crazy because not only do our black men have to learn to be brave, some of them are just being so aggressive due to the fact that they have to be brave. They're taught now, like, you can't be weak. So how do we deal with that in our society to make it work for everyone as a whole?
I think mental health is one way, and another way is also in having that male influence. I think a lot of it is a lot of men don't have that outlet to express themselves all the time, even with our friends. You know what I mean? A lot of times we keep things in. We just take it on the chin. And that's why a lot of men are so mad all of the time, because it feels like nobody understands us but us. You know what I'm saying? And it probably some things that me and Jedidiah both agree on, but because I don't say it to him, I don't know. I keep it to myself. It's certain things that I wouldn't want to say in fear of him going back and telling somebody else, or him looking at me a certain way and judging me. So it's a lot that goes into that on everyday basis that we just deal with. And I feel like, once we start to have these discussions and put those things out there, we can make change with that. With that being said,
What's your take, Jedidiah, on the question at hand?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be here.
It's having you.
Yeah, loaded conversation.
Yes, it is.
Trying to jump right into the thick of it.
It is. But it's definitely a conversation that needs to be had.
It's a necessary conversation, and so I would say that, I think that America was never founded, or was the Constitution written ever thinking that we would become free and independent of their control.
Indeed.
I don't think that it was made with our best interests in mind. I think that the America that they were talking about crafting, we were supposed to always be the slaves that made it for them. And so and that mindset of thinking, however, with the context of the conversation, I think that everybody understand that freedom isn't free. And so in order to be in a land of free, you got to have some individuals that are brave, that will go against those things that come to oppress us and to bind us. And so with that, I do want to caution my community really, really quickly. I remember growing up in the public school system and seeing a lot of teachers always talking about children with learning disabilities or having special needs or needing to have special classes, when the truth of the matter is they just have behavior problems. And it took a parent who knew their children to tell a teacher who wanted to limit them, my child don't have no illness. My child just need a whooping. And so we gotta be real careful that we don't start spewing the rhetoric that they want to put on our community, because as they see us liberated on one side, they look for a way to oppress us on another side. And so when they see us starting to buck up against the system, if y'all have been watching the trends of our population, we are soon to be able to compete with other races, because we won't be the minority if we keep having babies the way we having babies.
And that's one of the things Jane touched upon. Like, so now it's gonna be what was the word she
was
used?
Saying that that's the reason why Trump wants to build the wall, and he don't want the colors to come in, but
they're finna enforce white women to start having more babies.
But honestly though, that's inevitable though. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us is just ignorant to this, but it's always the 90-10 rule. You know what I'm saying? 90% of the world is African American. 10% is everything else. And I think once people become more aware of that and more conscious of that, they will understand that. So in order to have any color in you, you got to have some black in you. And that's one thing everybody forgets. So, they try to put the lighter people.
Why can't we just all agree that we don't need color? Color should just automatically go out the door.
We don't.
And I think that's what makes it so hard, because everybody keep trying to pinpoint where we originate from. It shouldn't even matter where we originated from. We should just all come together as humans.
This is the point where it matters. It matters to the point of this. It's just like if you walk in the church, they don't got that black Jesus up there. They got that white, because it matters. It all matters. So you can't say that it don't matter. It matters.
But what makes you so different than?
It's not about now. That part don't matter. It's not. We're not different as far as people at all. You know
I just think color totally needs to be taken out the equation.
That's true.
White people fight so hard because we keep on trying to enforcing them. Oh, you come from a black person,
But that's the truth.
But they don't want it. But they don't want to hear that.
That's not the point.
But that's not. Truth. But that's not the issue that we're trying to solve. We're not trying to solve the issue of where you come from. We're trying to solve the issue that we all are brothers and sisters, and we're all here for the same thing.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I get a little passionate
about you. I don't disagree with you at all. I just feel like to a certain extent it matters. And for you to say,
do you think it matters that?
I think it does.
It plays a big but is it gonna change?
Let me ask you this: have you ever been overseas?
I'm just say I don't want no smoke.
Is it gonna change?
Have you ever been overseas though?
No.
Have you ever seen the black statues of you and the ways that they treat you overseas? No. Only thing you've been indoctrinated to is this European lifestyle here in America. Okay. Until you see something different, then you would think different. That's the only thing that I'm saying. When you're exposed to something different, you think differently. It's just like a lot of people don't care about their ancestors or don't care about certain things. They say that don't matter, but it matters because it's in your DNA. It's in your blood.
I think it matters so much that they work very hard to erase.
It's $1 million corp. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. Yeah. But is making white people understand that they originate from black people really gonna solve the problem?
I think
that we have.
I think so. And for example, when people say I don't consider myself to be a minority, I consider myself to be a king. It is what I come from that originated all races. Mm-hmm. And so I think that once we begin to assert our true history, it definitely will help them with this whole notion of white privilege. To not see color, especially in the current climate that we're in, is actually enabling racism. It's enabling oppression. It's enabling for us to be redlined out opportunities. They don't want to see the color because it's uncomfortable. But they also don't want to see the color because they don't want us to realize what the color represents.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I want to touch upon another thing. So, any event that we're given that, remember one of the things that I spoke with Jane about is the fact that a lot of our young black men are oppressed. Mm-hmm. And a lot of reasons why they don't fight as hard for what it is. They feel like society owes them something. Oh, they did this to my ancestors. They did it to your ancestors, and your ancestors fought for your right to do what it is that you're doing today. So the blame game to me, I just think a lot of young black men rather take than go out there and earn it. And the reason why they do it, and I'm just saying the ones that I spoke to in opposed to what the topic that I'm talking upon. So I'm not saying all black men. I'm saying the ones that's why I want you to hear me clearly. The ones that sit and specifically say that the white man owes us this, the white man owes us that. They're hindering themselves to minimum.
I don't
we
necessarily agree with that.
I don't either. But
when you look at the current power structures, first of all, in order to be racist, you have to have the power to oppress another demographic. And so the crux of racism is us being blocked out of certain opportunities to have the best quality of life. And so they do owe us something, especially when they are in the seats that control the finances and control the police department and the policies and the government. That's one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it is, I don't think that is that young black men think that they're entitled to something in the sense that I'm gonna do nothing and you're supposed to do for me. I think it's our natural innate desire as men to, number one, want to produce, and number two, it's also with us, our men, we're in a survival mode. So we've kind of been stuck into a certain limit. We're limited on how we're operating and our resources to do it. And so the mentality is, I'm stuck, and I'm gonna do what I know. And it doesn't really.
And it becomes comfortable.
It becomes. It's just
the norm.
I tell people this all the time. A true gangbanger, in a sense, is not doing it because it's cool or it's fun. They're doing it because it's how they survive. Gang banging is not what people try to make it out to be. It's exactly what every person wants, and that's to belong and be a part of something and to have someone that they identify as a family. Now, if they do everything right, I can't necessarily say that. But the notion that that black men or black women feel entitled is another ploy that's been given to us by our masters. They want us to repeat things that are our former masters, because we're not our grandparents' generation. And so they want us to repeat these things and to think of it as a narrative. And then when we get people like an advocate, they want us to think, oh, them troublemakers, or they're paid, or they're attention seeking. Or when you get a queen that's an executive, or that's a mad, angry black woman who can't get no husband and don't know how to take care of no kids. They put all of these labels on us so that we stay disconnected from the true richness that's inside of us. And the truth is, nobody can define us like we can define us. We got to stop taking their narratives and we got to start telling our own.
And the second thing that I want to add to that as well is, and when the Holocaust came about, the Jews were, they got reprimanded for that. So the same thing happened to us, and we got nothing. So we are entitled to that. You can't sit back and say, oh, well, y'all need to. No, I agree with you on as far as me as a black man, I can go out and do anything they can do. I have the resources to, and because we're just ignorant to certain things in certain stages, but we definitely have the resources to do it in today's age of technology and all that we have. It's easy to go out there and band together and do the same things that they're doing if you know about it. You get what I'm saying?
I get what
but it's a lot of things that we're ignorant to that we don't know about. But once made aware, we go out and we do those things. So I think from that standpoint, that's just how people look at it. It's okay if I do something.
So why not show something different than empathetic instead of saying the same thing like they owe? Like one of my viewers right now is saying the Jews get paid, the Japanese get paid.
Everybody got paid.
Everything is on a denomination. But let's rewind back. Aren't we sitting here saying that we are what originated? So if we originated, wouldn't we have been the majority then? If we were the majority, if we were the majority, and majority,
we're still the majority. That's the fact that you don't understand.
So why is it an issue with?
You feel like you don't have any power because you don't know self.
Why is it an issue with standing up and fighting?
It's a simple principle: a house divided can't stand.
Exactly.
So the biggest thing that has been done is that they have, the biggest strategy.
We're divided because we blame. Instead of point fingers.
They've disconnected us from the source of who we are.
Yep.
And so one of the issues with reparations, you cannot give reparations to a group of individuals that are not a nation. That's not, you have the Jews, you have the Asians. Black is not an ethnicity or a nationality.
Facts.
White is not an ethnicity. That is how they've tricked us. And so when they say, okay, well, the black people want reparations, well, where do black come from? That's not an ethnicity. And so and that's another way that they trick us to thinking that we are a minority. White is only an American concept. But when you actually dissect the population of white, what you find out is that it's really the Italians and the Europeans and the British and the all these different nationalities. They just come together and they come to America and say we're white, but in actuality they're not the same. And if you actually get into their communities, you find out they can't stand each other just as much as we can't stand each other. Yep. But they got one thing in common: don't let the black people advance.
You can say it.
Unity.
Okay, I'll say it next time, but don't let the, I'm finna learn this show then. But don't let the black people advance. And the only way to keep the black people suppressed is it's the old slave plantation plan. Yeah. You got to have a few black people who will be the guard to make sure the rest of the black folks don't succeed. You got to have the ones in the house and the ones in the field. The ones in the house got to think that they so comfortable and they and they got to watch out for what the master is doing. And so in our community, that same ideology, the elders are afraid. How could an elder be afraid of the young? That's okay, go ahead.
And not just to piggyback off that, but that is the truth. And another thing that I always tell people all the time, and you know what I'm saying, I like to say this all the time, but us as young black men, you know, we hard-headed. And that's true. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us don't like to listen to what our elders have to say. A lot of us don't want to hear. Especially in this age, we feel like, I know it. I know the answers. And first of all, you ain't even there. So what I'm going to listen to you for? And that's what we go wrong at, okay? Because, like, even speaking on myself personally, it's things my mama done told me that I was like, whatever, mama, you ain't no man, you ain't
I think it's
here.
Discipline.
And months later,
when they snatch discipline away from
I'm
us.
coming back around saying,
Yeah.
I wish I would have listened to you, mama. Mm-hmm. You was right. So at the end of the day, it's just, you know, the more we listen and the more, you know, we come together as one, then we can fix those things. But it's gotten to the point to where we've been so Europeanized, we don't even like to do things and own up to the things that's us. We know what works for us. We know what type of things we like.
And whoopings work in black communities.
Facts. We know this. We know this. Everybody know this.
It worked for me.
Especially black.
Look
I
at
was
me.
just talking about that earlier.
Did it
about
work for
the
you?
discipline factor.
Did you get whoopings?
The views and opinions expressed on this show are that of mine too.
Yes, look, in the words of everybody that know me,
and we definitely keep
historically, this is what I need people to understand, is that historically, actually, discipline was something that slave masters, they didn't worry about, because their children were being watched by the slaves.
Mm-hmm. The big mama.
They didn't worry about taking care of their kids, because the slaves had the big mama had to come and take care of their children. And so for us, discipline was always something that we were well acquainted with, because we've always been nurturers of our families and our homes. And this is where it gets to where it's at today. These things are things that you pass down from generation to generation. And so the more Caucasian families, they put them in corners and time out, and those things they could be effective depending on what the issue is. But it was the black household that believed in, you know, taking that belt, getting your switch, and actually tagging you. And so because it wasn't something that was in Caucasian culture, they criminalized it, and they took away our mechanism to discipline our children in our community. And we don't, you know, time out and all that stuff, that works when you're two.
And if you think about it, maybe because our children were more well behaved. Because think about it, like you think about when you go out, and when you go out in the store though. When you go out in the store with your child, they're not going to cry. They're not right. They're not going to do all that. You go out and you see Caucasian women in the store with children. They're hitting mom's back. I was just going to say, doing all of that.
I was terrified at times.
But that goes to what you just said. Like back in slavery days, you know, the masters, they whooped the slaves, but the big mamas watched their children, which means they didn't get disciplined. But in the same breath, the slaves disciplined their children, so they were taught manners and to respect people in the door. I think that's probably one of the reasons why, like, we were much well-behaved children back in the days. Everybody struggled with mischievousness.
I'm gonna say it again. It takes a village to raise a child. Back when you knew your
everybody
uncle,
can whoop
your cousin, the neighbor gonna get you before you. When
Did
it was
you get
like
whooped
that,
by your neighbor?
When it was like that, you knew already. Like, oh man, that's funny. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie. I did school one time. I first heard about playing hooky, and I did school one day. I was like in 3rd grade. And I tried ditching school. I'm gonna tell you, my cousin caught me. I was trying to sneak back in the house, and he was at the house. So I put my key in the door to go in. They heard me. I tried to run and hide behind some bushes, but I ended up getting caught nonetheless. He whooped me. My mama got home and whooped me. My cousin came over from wherever she was at and whooped me. And it wasn't like they were just taking turns beating me neither. I don't necessarily mean physically whooping me neither. They came over and got in my tail.
They got up in your business.
For ditching school.
Now let me ask you this question.
What's
How
up?
many of them have a degree?
Maybe 3 of them.
All 3 of them got a degree?
Yep.
Facts. But historically in our homes, something that I think people don't realize is that we care so much about our children historically that we discipline them to make sure they had things that we didn't.
Mm-hmm. Then I just touched up on that. And that's where it went wrong, because once they took religion and discipline about the school, one thing that you know as a child, things that your parents did to you that you felt were just so unfair, you made a vow to yourself, oh, I'm not going to do that. I did that. I made that mistake, and I'm going to tell you the biggest mistake that I made is saying them words and teaching my oldest son that you can express how you feel. You can say however you feel to anyone, as long as it's in a respectful manner. Do you know I lived in hell teaching him that, because he's very smart. So you see how I'm controversial on a lot of things. He thinks like me, in and outside the box. It's not because I'm biased on this way or anything. It's like, in order to get to a real solution, you have to think of all the variations that cause the problem. So it called me, and hey, what can I say? We need religion back. We need discipline back. We need people to understand that it's okay for someone to come and tell your child, hey, that's not right. You know, maybe you should do this. Or parents to be more receptive to somebody coming telling you about what your child is doing. Why? Because a lot of people don't like to hear. They too busy trying to condemn. Like, well, what did your child do?
It's so deep. The issues are so deep. You're gonna be forever trying to pick through each one, because it's so multi-layered and so multi-fashioned. We will be forever trying to dissect this thing. So for me, it's better to get the solutions and start to fix some of these things. Come up with ways to help change some of these things in that form, because we'll be forever talking about these problems. You know what I'm saying? And well, for me, there is no right or wrong answer for any of these things that we're doing, because we all learning.
We need to take liquor stores out our community.
How can we know about something that we've never heard of? If we never told him the color black, and somebody said the word black in front of him, we can't call him dumb because he's ignorant to the knowledge of it. So it's so many things that a lot of people are just ignorant of, that we need to educate ourselves and self-educate ourselves, not necessarily go and keep reading from these teachers or trying to. No, we need to self-educate ourselves. Go and read something for yourself. Go and research the knowledge for yourself, especially in the time of right now when we have all this technology available to us to do these things. Go read up on what your ancestors was doing. Go read up on what these things were, because a lot of the things that we know now is taken out of context. History is his story.
It is.
That's going to always be forever. Jedidiah could tell you a story. I could tell you a story. We played that game in school. By the time it get back to them, it's going to be a whole nother story.
True.
We all know that. So your truth is only what you accept to be the truth, or what you believe.
Or your experience.
Right, or what you see.
Most people's truths are their experience.
Facts.
You know.
Facts. So that's why I feel like, you know, that's why one of the things I like to do on the show is put those things out there, because when you see it, then you can envision yourself doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like before you seen Barack in presidency, you never would have thought. You know what I'm saying? When you see presidents, you like, that just ain't for me. That's something for the white man. But then when you seen Barack, it's like, oh, I could be president now. I could wear a suit, and, you know, even though we came from that. You know what I'm saying? But it still changes the mindset and the ideology of a lot of kids when they see that. So what you see is, you know, what you envision yourself as.
And I just wanted to say, I'll give us a quick story about that, is that I lost my high school sweetheart because the mom asked me what did I want to do, or what I wanted to be when I grew up. I told her I wanted to be the first black president. She told her daughter she couldn't talk to me no more because my dreams were unattainable.
Unrealistic, huh?
He doesn't have a clear path. And so when Barack Obama won, man, I
Did you
couldn't wait
call
to
her?
see that lady.
Did you call her? How'd you like
what
them
you got to
apples?
say now?
Nothing is impossible.
Yeah, what you got to say now?
I felt like Kevin Garnett, like, man, yes, it's that time. No, but seriously though, I mean, that was one of the things. Like when I first got back, and I was in this place of, what am I going to do next? I'm done playing basketball. It was a great experience doing all the things that I did, got to do with it, and experience all of the things that I got to do with it. But what's next? So I started to do motivational speaking. I spoke to kids at UIC and U of I and a couple other places, and one thing that I started to notice is because I am younger, I can relate to them. So they would listen to me more than they would listen to somebody that's older. And I realized that. So I wanted to take advantage of that because I know they will listen to me. They're not going to look at me and be like, oh, he old, bro. Ain't nobody trying to, you know what I mean? They looking at it like it's the new cool. And I feel like, if more young men set the example and wanted to be the role model, then we could have that, and we could continue to do those type of things. And I think that's one of the reasons why, I was so very adamant about reaching out to Jedidiah and bringing him on, because he's doing that thing. He's out on the forefront, and people like me see him doing this, and it's inspiring to me to say, you know what, I could do more. I could be doing this, or I could be, instead of we always talking about it, but we're never being about it.
And that's what I commend you on. Like, I'm not even a kid. I wasn't aware of who you were. I was aware, but subconsciously, because of the incident that happened on 71st. I just remember, like, after I researched you, my little sister studied showing me the video of the police incident. With that being said, I stumbled up on you running up on the stage during the Trump rally. First off, give me some. Kudos. Because that right there speaks volumes. It goes to show everybody's already worried about the racist aspect of the Trump coalition. Mm-hmm. So to me that stood out because you didn't fear your life. You didn't think about what was going to happen to you. Like the point was your message was so important to you that you were willing to put your life on the forefront. And that weighs volumes. And you did the same thing in that protest situation. So, and let me ask you this. Running for the Alderman seat, 7th Ward, right?
Yep.
I did a blog not too long ago on taking second chances. So, when we pull up your name, we already know the things that the media would portray the most. Yeah. That's another thing that stood out to me. The fact my blog was pretty much about how in life sometimes we're dealt certain situations and it makes us afraid to take another chance. Despite that you're in the spotlight, in the negative light, you still keep pursuing and you still keep fighting for the same dream. I just want to tell you that to be a black man and willing to take that risk as Martin Luther King did and so many others, Frederick Douglass, what is it that you're looking to put back in the community though now? I touched on kind of like, if you look at our communities, they're filled with liquor stores. Are you looking to like maybe remove some of them liquor stores? Because for every liquor store we have in our community, not only is the crime rate higher in that community, but so is the amount of dialysis centers. What?
Well, first I want to thank you for that, and we could be frank with you talking about.
I'm not gonna be, I'm not gonna be like everybody already knows, right?
This is what I want to say. I lost a child that I had since he was a baby, and it really broke me down. It just really destabilized my entire life. And that one moment I hear more about than me being outside every single day for about 12 years fighting for Chicago. And I'm not ashamed of that day. I'm actually proud of it because I thought that was the end of Jedidiah advocating for Chicago. I didn't realize it was the beginning. And I ask myself every day now, why are you still doing this? And the reason is because Travis Mensah was my reason, and pleasing God was my reason. And what I mean by that is I never had, I didn't, nobody left me anything. Like my father's still here, but I never knew what it felt like to have somebody leave something for me. And so I wanted to leave something for Travis.
Okay.
That was why I worked so hard. I wanted to leave something to him. That was legitimately my thinking. And when I lost him, it was, I have no one to leave anything to now. And so now I do what I do because I still want to please God. And I want to break every barrier that has been put in my face the whole time I've been alive. And so as an alderman, you know, I can isolate one issue. We got a lot of them, but it's real simple for me. Liquor stores are not our problem. It's the mind and the hearts of the people and how they use the liquor store.
True.
And what we require from the liquor store. And who owns the liquor store.
True.
And so for me, I'm running for alderman because for 17 years, I have legitimately gone every day, but I still feel like a fish in a fish tank. I still feel like I've not done enough. I still feel like our people are not paying attention enough. And so I have to keep on going until I do what I believe God told me to do. And that's to make an impact on this world until God calls me home. And so I think that it is time for our young people to see a different image in front of them. We hate politics.
I agree.
We're disconnected from our churches. We're not connected to our families. We don't even like each other.
The sense of loyalty is all out the door.
But I think that's a part of, you know, the whole agenda of white supremacy and the whole system that's put in place and that's put in front of us. And I think
genocide our culture.
It's like that's that elephant in the room. We try to act like that's not really what's going on and why a lot of the situations. That's a lot of why the situation is what it is. We didn't ask for this. We was born into this. We didn't ask for these things. We didn't ask for these politicians to have these laws in place before we got here. We didn't ask for none of this. It was just placed upon us. And now you have people that fought for so many years for these things, and now you have people that fell off. Now we got to pick up them pieces.
And then you got those that just want to sit and turn the other cheek.
It's the same thing. So it's like, if we don't do nothing, what are youth going to do? What are kids going to do?
Well, this is definitely a heavy topic.
Yeah,
and 1 hour is definitely not enough time to get everything in. We haven't finished the interview with Jane. We haven't gotten all your insights. We're going to have to call. We're going to need you to come back. Like, we got to make up for this because this is so important.
I say this one thing to our women. This is what I need for our women to do because they're the key to restoring the village. It's like when we were kids and we played a video game. We would sit there all day. We won't eat. We wouldn't wash up. We wouldn't do nothing until the mama or to the sister came in and say, "Hey, you get off that game and go take care of yourself." We need the women to tell our men to get out the game and go back home.
Indeed,
they so wrapped up in the game, they don't realize that they're not taking care of home. That's the best way I can try to summarize what I want to say.
Indeed.
Go home and rebuild your families. You heard it.
Build your kingdom, man, and understand that you're leaving a legacy here that's bigger than yourself. As always, man, y'all know how we do it here on Talk of the Shy. We got to wrap everything up. Y'all know if y'all got music, y'all send that to me at talkoftheshy18@gmail.com. Y'all can follow me at Real Quanda Don on Instagram or just Quanda Don on Facebook. Follow Talk of the Shy as well. And we're gonna continue this conversation. Y'all know we're gonna get all of this information out to y'all. We're gonna share this. We're gonna put everything out. And this is just the first of many times. We definitely gonna have to bring.
And Jedidiah is definitely coming back because we're not done with him. He is such like I super love you just because the fact that I wrote that one blog and like to read your story. It's so hard to look at people and like you say, all you see, the first thing people talk about is that. So you fight all those, and it's like that means so much to me because you don't